Okay, so as you can see from the title, I have the Asus Zenfone 11 Ultra and the Asus Zenfone 10. Essentially the successor, but it looks completely different. It's different design, it's much larger. Like this looks like the ROG Phone 8. Like Asus, what did you do type of thing? Like why would you leave and put aside the compact flagship and just bring us a just normal flagship, a slab of glass, and it's the Ultra. It's not even the Asus Zenfone 11. We don't even know if we're going to be getting something like the Zenfone 11. And Asus, if you come across this video, please release like a compact version of the 11 Ultra. It'd be great. I absolutely love the Zenfone 10. Nonetheless, I want to discuss about these two devices, my thoughts and my experience of using both of them. Yes, there are some differences, but I think we can finally, unless Asus just surprises us all, I think we can finally say goodbye to the flagship, compact flagship form factor. Starting things off with design, completely different. 11 Ultra comes equipped with a glass front, Gorilla Glass Victus 2 aluminum frame that still carries on that matte black aluminum frame finish, as well as a glass back. It's IP68 dust and water resistant, 6.78 inches on the front right here, full HD LTPO AMOLED 1 to 120 hertz display, and in gaming mode it does go up to 144 hertz, 1600 nits of brightness and 2500 of peak nits, or 2500 nits of peak brightness. When we come to the Zenfone 10, we're getting a bio-based plastic. I like the texture on it. It feels like construction paper. It has that matte frames just like the Zenfone 11 Ultra, so that's something cool. I kind of wish more devices had that matte finish, that matte black frame on the sides. When we come to the front display, we're getting a much smaller 5.9 inch Full HD 120 hertz AMOLED display. Again, 144 hertz on certain games, and yes, it's a little bit more chunky, a little bit more of bezels. Has the camera in the top left, whereas it's in the center on the 11 Ultra. But nonetheless, they still both carry a headphone jack, top on the Zenfone 10 and bottom on the 11 Ultra. In fact, the 11 Ultra looks like it has everything here. It has a SIM tray right here. It has a USB-C in the bottom left. It's not even centered. It has some speakers, a headphone jack right on the bottom. And the only thing on the top right here, the headphone jack is on the top rather than the bottom on the Zenfone 10. But we still have the USB-C in the middle, speakers, and a SIM tray. Nonetheless, though, I like both of the designs, but obviously the Zenfone 10 does fit better in the hand. It's more compact. It's easily a one-hand device. How is it using it for display-wise? It's fine. It really is. In fact, when I use the 11 Ultra, I obviously feel like I'm using a high-end device because of that larger, less bezel of a display. But the Zenfone 10 just was really good too. It's still 120 hertz, buttery smooth. Watching content on this was phenomenal. I don't know, it was easy. I like the fact that it was a one-hand device. So this ultimately does come down to preference of which one you would choose. But knowing me, I really love compact flagships, and I am a little bit of have a bias here, and I would go with the Zenfone 10 in terms of its form factor over the 11. I like the design, but again, for me, it's the form factor. But things are a little bit more similar when it comes to performance. Obviously, we have the yearly updates. 11 Ultra comes with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chipset. It comes equipped with 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. This is the only configuration that you can pick up in the US, which is a bummer. Now, a 16 gig RAM and 512 gig storage model is available. I couldn't find it on the ACUS website. So it looks like if you want a higher end model, you're gonna have to, purchase that from somewhere else or import the device. But again, obviously it tackles everything at ease, watching videos, playing mobile games, using it for social media, whatever you throw at it, it's going to tackle it with a breeze, no issue whatsoever. The Zenfone 10 also tackles everything with no issue, even though it's last year's Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, it's a champ. Day-to-day use has been right on point. Again, no hiccups or bugs whatsoever. I have 8 gigs of RAM. My model is 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage. even that has been able to tackle everything. But you also can pick up a model with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage. Now, when we talk about the performance, so how does it perform on a day-to-day basis, here's the thing. Again, both buttery smooth. This chipset's not too much of a huge deal. No hiccups or issues on the software side. And Asus gives you the option to choose whether you want a more stock Android feel or Asus like Zen UI. And I do have Asus Zen UI running on both. A little bit different. They look a little bit different, but they still have some extra features that Asus throws in that really just make it shine a little bit more. The one downside though with both of these devices is the fact that you only get about 2 years of software updates. And when you look at competitors and the fact that when you look at the price you pay, 2 years of software updates, because we're holding on to our devices much longer because they perform much better and they last longer too. I mean, if you pick up the Asus Zenfone 11 Ultra or the 10, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't think in 2 years, 3 years time, you're not going to come to a point where like, oh man, my phone's not working. I need to upgrade until something unexpected happens or whatever it may be, or you drop the phone or something happens. On a day-to-day use, these should easily, especially with the chipsets inside, should easily last 3+ years. So just why don't you offer those consumers some extra years of software updates? Again, there may be some questions like, okay, well, yeah, we're going to offer more years of software updates, but how many people actually do have these phones? How many people are we actually going to be supporting? So there are some probably questions in the software team and why they make the decisions they do, but it would be nice to see more OS updates with both of these devices. Nonetheless, though, performance and software, I can recommend both. Cameras are, again, more of a kind of preference thing, which one you would prefer. So we are getting more of a flagship kind of camera setup with the Zenfone 11 Ultra, 50 megapixel wide with gimbal OIS, 32 megapixel telephoto OIS with 3x optical zoom, and a 13 megapixel ultra wide. Results are good. I'll let you be the judge between the two, but they both perform good. Asus Zenfone 10, 50 megapixel main camera, joined by 13 megapixel ultra wide with a 6-axis gimbal stabilizer system, and it doesn't have a third camera, so just a dual camera setup, but that's okay. Again, I'll leave the judging up to you, which one you would personally prefer. I could go with either one. It doesn't really matter for me, but because, well, for me at least, camera is not the most important part of a smartphone, so I can make do with either one. But again, I personally still would choose the Zenfone 10 only because of the form factor. Like, that's just leading me into using the camera. Like, camera on the Zenfone 11 is not going to persuade me to want to use it more than the Zenfone 10. Unless you do need a telephoto, then yes, I would say go for the 11 Ultra, but everything else has been performing pretty good on both. Also performing good on both is the battery life. So larger phone, larger battery, fast charging, and they still perform really well. So a 5500 milliamp hour battery on the Zenfone 11 Ultra with 65 watts of fast charging, wireless and reverse wireless charging. And Zenfone 11 Ultra, I believe, was truly meant for heavy users like myself. It's easily a 2-day phone. It's 8 hours plus of screen on time. And for me, it's performed better than my S24 Ultra, and it performs better than the Zenfone 10. Now, Zenfone 10 by no means is not a slouch. It has a 4300 milliamp hour battery. Yes, it's smaller, but it's also a more compact phone, and this easily lasts 8 hours plus of screen on time. I can go into my second day of using the phone, but Asus Zenfone 11 Ultra just tops it a little bit more with that larger battery, much faster charging too. Zenfone 10 also has wireless charging, and it's a great upgrade because the Zenfone 9 didn't, so it's nice to see that they put that in the Zenfone 10. I can easily recommend both for the battery life. I mean, you're getting, for what you get with like the size and the form factor for each, they each perform amazing in their aspect of battery. You can't really go wrong. I mean, it would be cool to see a 5000 milliamp hour battery in the Zenfone 10, but I think it would be a little bit thicker too, and then it would probably outperform the Zenfone 11 Ultra, because the smaller the screen is, then I mean it's going to consume less power. So even if you put a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in the Zenfone 10, it's going to perform, it'll probably perform better because it's not going to be pushing as much pixels. Whereas the Zenfone 11 Ultra, larger display, it only makes sense for larger battery capacity, 5,500 milliamp hour battery to be put in there to kind of charge up and to energize and to light up those pixels on your display. But battery life for both has been awesome. And I think availability determines a lot of choices for consumers. So Zenfone 11 Ultra, $899 for my model, 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. Again, this was the only one I was able to find here in the US. And the Zenfone 10 comes in 3 configurations, 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage for $699, 256 gigs with 8 gigs of RAM for $749, which is the model I own. Or if you want to go $799, 512 gigs with 16 gigs of RAM. So even if you pick up the top end model of the Zenfone 10, it's still $100 cheaper than the Zenfone 11 Ultra. So you're starting with a $700 to $800 price range with the Zenfone 10 versus a $900 price range with the Zenfone 11 Ultra. So this also does come down to preference, but I wouldn't go ahead and spend the extra $100 to upgrade to the Zenfone 11 Ultra unless you really want all the great things about it: great software, great performance, good cameras with a larger body. If you're looking for that, decent cameras with great battery life, great performance, great software in a compact form factor, the Zenfone 10 is going to be for you. And that's why I say all the time, and personally it's going to be for me too. I'm going to choose the Zenfone 10 for those who are probably, if you didn't catch on already, but Zenfone 10 is going to be that device I would choose. Here's the thing, Asus, if you're watching this video, just bring a Zenfone 11 and kind of change up the lineup a little bit more. So if you're going to really call it an Ultra, make it an actual Ultra. Give us more than just what is here included in the Zenfone 11 Ultra. Probably make the base 16 gigs of RAM, half a terabyte of storage, and give us more RAM, more storage. Give us a more, I don't know, instead of full HD, give us a quad HD display. I wouldn't say 4K, you don't really need a 4K, but give us a quad HD display, give us faster charging. The software is already good. Give us better camera software too, because camera is it's not just hardware. Software does play a huge role. You know what I mean? Make it an actual Ultra device. Whereas if you want to have a compact flagship, just the basics of like a flagship, make that the Zenfone 11 or the Zenfone 12, and according to the lineup you put necessary features. But yeah, that's really all I have for this video. I know I probably started blabbering on towards the end. I do have a script, but sometimes I do go off script because I also want to add in some extra bullet points too. But nonetheless, they're both great devices. I just hope they have more software updates and whatnot. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, be sure to smash the like button, comment down below, and best of all, share this video because it really does help out the channel a lot. It will help push my content out to more people. And definitely be sure to check out my latest wallpaper pack. It's called Urban Glow. I'll be leaving links in the description down below. That's been it for me. I'll catch you guys in the next episode.